All right, so apparently I am live now. I just wanted to sign on a little bit early to make sure that I work out the kinks. So let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to call this the green room chat, just because I want to make sure that everything is going right. Okay, so I see me on my Facebook page, so I must be live, even though I'm a little paused right now on my Facebook page. But I guess it's gonna have to be that for right now. Okay, yeah, all is good. All right, so we are all set to go. I'm just gonna wait for my I'm gonna wait for my guests to start rolling in because I think I have this thing down pat. I see somebody texting me telling me they're gonna be late. What you gonna do? Somebody's gonna be late. Oh my goodness. So now I'm looking at my guest list and I think he's actually first up. So my first up guest is going to be late. Well, that's not good. You better get on over here. So I got a couple people watching already. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Today's show is going to be about men who date younger and the women who love them. You know, some of you 40 plus year olds are dating these 20-year olds. Mm-hmm. This is the green room chat. So if you have any questions, you can post them on my page because I can actually see them. I think I might be learning how to maneuver this thing. Usually people have somebody that just kind of controls the studio while they just focus on the show so they don't have to keep looking down at the computer. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get a steady person as an assistant. So I have to do everything. But, I'm kind of used to being a one woman show. Let's see, somebody is already in the queue. All right, Wayman. So I think you didn't have to necessarily sign on until 3:45. So you probably just want to watch the show because I don't think you can watch the show uh, while you're actually sitting backstage. So I can see you backstage, but you might want to just log out for now and get back in at like 3:45 when I bring when I bring your group on. So okay. So what do I want to talk about right now while we're doing the green room chat? I do have a few things I want to talk about. So this is not uncommon for older men and younger women. This is not an uncommon thing. Some celebrity couples, of course, Stevie J and Jocelyn Hernandez, they had a 15-year span. There's 15 years age difference between them. Beyonce and Jay-Z, there is 12 years difference between them. Eddie Murphy and his wife, of course, not the first one, but I guess she's the second one. There's 17 years. Eddie Murphy and Paige Butcher, there's 17 years between them. Mary Kate Olsen, I'm sure you remember the twins back in the day. That show. I can't remember what it was called anymore, but Mary Kate Olsen is married to a man that is 17 years older than her. And Viola Davis, her husband is, I forgot to put the age difference in there, but I think they are like 15 or 17 or 20 years or something like that. I must have closed that whole thing. Anyway, yeah, so there are a lot of couples, both private couples, or let's not private couples, because all couples, I guess, are private, but celebrity and non celebrity couples who actually fall into this. It's not uncommon. And I think back in the day, it was probably very common. If we look at, what was that movie, Color Purple? I think Mr. When he married Celie, she was a teenager. Um, this has been happening for years. So I'm just curious as to what the attraction between the two is, especially nowadays. I mean, we know back in the day, as I mentioned, Color Purple. that just was what it was. Women were more like property then, and they, did what she did, and the men paid the father, for the girl, and it just was what it was. But now that, men and women have choices, what is it that still draws an older guy who has life experiences and is probably more traveled and just all of that? What draws him to a 20-year-old who may not even be able to relate on the same level? What is that conversation like? And I ask that because, I'm really big on intellectual conversation. I need to have a conversation with you. If we don't relate on anything, then I'm more than likely not going to be interested, because that's just who I am. It doesn't mean everybody has to be there. So yeah, I'm going to ask, are younger women easier to manipulate mentally? Someone said that when I was talking about doing this show, someone said that, younger women are just easier to mentally manipulate. So that's why older men like them, because older women aren't going for it. Don't know if that's true. There's a lot of older women that go for a lot of stuff. Is it the sex? Even though a woman's sex drive peaks at 40 or over, is it the sex? Is it the sex? I remember when I was 20, my sex drive really has not changed since I was 20. But I blame that on my dad's side of the family. I think that my whole family on that side has a genetic defect. I always say that. So I hope that my cousins over there won't get me, but they know it's true. Anyway, in my 20s, of course, I was a lot more self-conscious about, my sexuality. What do I do? How do I do it? When do I do it? But, at my age now, probably not so much. Are the young women after the money? Because, of course, the older man is probably more financially stable. These are all questions that we're going to go through once the show actually starts in 7 minutes. Once the show starts and the guests actually come on with me. So right now we are having what I call green room talk, green room conversations. So I see I have a comment. Let me see what this comment says. Full house. I'm not sure what full house means. Oh, Full House. Yes, that was the name of the show. Thanks, Mike. Yep, Full House. That was the name of the show. I'm like, what the heck is Full House? Is he over there playing cards and typing at the same time? He got a full house. You about to win that money? Anyway, I don't know anything about cards. So what are some other reasons maybe? So is this younger woman, is it like an ego stroke? Is it an ego stroke for the older man to have a 20-something-year-old woman on his arm to prove he still got it? Because, men are known for needing to prove that they still have it, if they can get that good. Let's see. Some comments coming in. Say, some cases, I think they feel they are more more in charge, easy to impress. Is that what that says? Because it looks like OM charge. I know you weren't saying charge. Okay. Yeah, so see, during green room conversations, there's no telling what you might get. So it is in charge. Thank you, Mike, for correcting that. So the older guy feels like he's more in charge, and the younger woman is easier to impress. And I could probably agree with you on that. When you're not exposed to much, then you can't really expect much because you don't know what to expect. I remember when I was in my 30s, I had a mentor. He was an older guy in his 60s. And I used to always tell him, I knew what I wanted in life. And he used to always tell me I couldn't possibly know what I wanted in life at that point. He said, some of what you want and some of what you don't want, but you haven't experienced enough to know exactly what you want in life. And that is so very true. As I've gotten older, I've learned that we never really know I don't know about ever, because I haven't lived through all of the ages yet. But, you don't really know what all you want in life because you haven't experienced everything. I've learned new things that I want, and I've learned new things that I don't want since the time he told me that. So yeah, they probably are a lot easier to impress. It seems like it was hard to get young women to admit to and talk about dating older men on the show. There were a few young women. I found some of these people on conversations that were being had in different groups that I'm in. And so I chose some of them to participate on the show. And there were young women who participated in the conversation as far as saying that they did date older men. However, to get them to like publicly state that or talk about it, most of them just kind of, you know, they disappeared. So we are going to get started on the show in about 4 minutes. I'm waiting on my guests to check in. Everybody has the links and everything so they can get in here so we can have a conversation. Let's see. Jamil Johnson says, I think certain men are used to thinking, doing for, and taking care of women. So having a younger woman that doesn't match an older man's level is pretty normal for some men. I'm sure there's a mental advantage that some men may find favorable as well that contributes to the attraction. Finally, men are visual. Okay, I do get that men are visual. I hope you don't think women are not visual. If you've, and Jamil, I know you've been on my page for a minute, so you know I am very visual. We all like what we like, and I think everybody is entitled to have their preference. So I don't think that men being visual, because there are some 30, 40, 50, and even some 60-year-old women that have really held it together, some of which you can't tell how old they actually are, you know. So men are visual, but are you saying that because there are some 20-year-old women that probably are not visually appealing? I mean, in any age, you can find someone that's probably visually appealing and some that are not. So visually, maybe, maybe not. Okay, so we're getting close to showtime. I just got that text message I was waiting for. That's one of the benefits of doing the show from my phone. I can see what people are saying to me on my personal life. So when I leave here, I'm going to get in the pool because it's hot in the mug out there. All right. So another thing I want to explore is, do men over 40 not like women in their age group because they can't tell them anything? I guess that goes along with the control part. Okay, Jamil says again that most women look more for security than men do. So if an unattractive man is a great provider, his looks may become less important to some women. And some is definitely the key word there, because for me, I think sexuality is a big part of a healthy relationship and a strong ongoing relationship. And if you are with somebody that you're not attracted to, how are you going to be sexually active with them? That would seem like it would make sex a chore. My dad told me when I was a young girl, he said, you know, he told me that a man will take care of you if he loves you, because that's what men do. They take care of the stuff that they love. Y'all take care of your cars. You know, if you're into watches, you take care of your watches. You know, you get your shoes shine. If you got your shoes, if you into tennis shoes, you're gonna keep them all together. Matter of fact, you guys will walk without bending your feet to make sure your tennis shoes is good. So the things that you really love and care about, you tend to take care of, and that will include your woman if you actually love and take care of her. But my dad said, for me to make sure that I love that man, because when it came down to it, I wouldn't be sleeping with his wallet. I would be sleeping with him. So I need to make sure I love that man. And that definitely has stuck with me all my life. My dad probably told me that when I was like 14 or 15 years old. And I hadn't even had sex yet, so I really didn't know what he was really talking about. But now, after being an adult, I know exactly what he was talking about. And I'm glad he told me that to some degree. Even though, in my 20s, I had several really nice offers from older guys. So, I couldn't take nobody up on that because to me they was old. I ain't like them, so when they going, and I'm still that way. If I'm not feeling you, if I don't got that chemistry and attraction, it doesn't matter what the rest of it is about. It's just not gonna happen. Let's see. So Mike says older women won't put up as much as younger women. I'm assuming you're saying older women won't put up with as much as older women. So older women won't put up with as much as younger women will. Younger women will put up with more stuff. Yeah, that's what I figured she was trying to say. And that is probably true. Especially an older woman who has all her own stuff together, because she, things have changed in life. We all know that, and relationships have changed. As a result of that, women have their own stuff, and to deal with a whole lot of drama and unnecessary stuff, peace of mind. Yeah. Who out there know how good peace of mind is? Peace of mind is worth everything. So it's 3:02. I hope you got your drink, because we are about to get this started. I'm waiting on the late one. It seems like everybody is a little bit late. Where are my peoples? I need you guys to sign in. Let's see, Fred says maybe everybody just wants sex. Maybe everybody does want. I hope everybody wants sex. I mean, that's like a natural. My dad said that your sex drive is. I was a daddy's girl, so you might hear me reference my dad on a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to guys. My dad told me that your sex drive is just like your appetite, or you have a desire to eat, you have a desire to drink, and you have a desire to have sex, and you will have those desires whether you're in love or not. Being in love does not dictate whether you get that feeling in the middle of the night, especially if it's raining outside and it's a little thunder and stuff. You could be laying there by yourself. Some people pull out a toy and some people handle it themselves, but it's just like your appetite. So I would hope everybody does want sex, but I know that at some point, sometimes women's sex drives dwindle, and at some point, sometimes men develop ED. Apparently, that's a big thing because, Cialis and that other one that came out first, those things are pretty prevalent and money making. So, sex drives do decrease. But I would hope that everybody does want sex. That's part of any healthy relationship. If I don't want a relationship that does not include sex, period. All right, Jamil said, you do realize you're in the minority, X. Most women, in my experience, didn't have that type of relationship with their dad or any relationship at all. And that is pretty sad. I know that is true. I know that there's a lot of women that didn't have relationships with their father or even have good relationships if he was still around. I do treasure those memories of my childhood with my dad because it was, I talk about it all the time. I used to talk about it all the time. And he's the first chapter of my book. I've written a book, The Men in My Life and What I've Learned. And even though many people thought it was a sex book, it is not. It starts off with my dad. So let me see. I think I have a guest in here. So this is Darwin. And Darwin, I think you guys come in at 3:45. So you probably want to just listen to the show from my page versus being backstage. All right. So I am waiting on my two first guests, So one said he was going to be late. Where is this other one at? Let me go on my... See, this is when somebody working the studio would be a good thing. So just bear with me for a second while I figure out where everybody is. This is actually pretty good. I'm so happy with myself because I was just wondering if I was going to get this to work right because last time it was a fiasco. Um, Everything kept shutting down and I had major feedback. Do you guys hear any feedback? Hopefully you don't because I think I got this. I think I got this. Let's see here. Just bear with me a second. Okay. And we're going back over here. All right. So while you guys are out there listening, I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Just waiting for the guests to show up. And I don't want to say nothing about black people because I love black people. Sometimes y'all be late though. Anyway, you can't be late for a show. The show goes on at a certain time. Now, I will sit here and talk to y'all until 4 o'clock because, I don't have any problem doing that. I can kick it off just with me, but that's not the plan. So, anyway, I have a question, well, a quote, and I would love for you viewers to make a comment and send me your thoughts on this quote. So, a guy that I asked to be on the show, he declined, but this was his quote. He said, there are a lot of hurt, disillusioned, plagued, disappointed women over 40. In most cases, it's not the older men seeking out the younger women. At 56, the 30 to 39-year-old trends my way. They have jobs, kids, their own place, and not yet emotionally disturbed. It's an air of freshness in conversation and relationship. So, you older women, go ahead and keep reasoning with yourselves why men just don't want the extra weight and dryness that some of you bring. Anybody have any comments on that? I'd like to know how you guys that are watching feel about that. Mike, Jamil, Fred, how do you feel about that quote? I mean, do you think that some men just don't like older women and they wind up with younger women, or is it really the attraction to the younger woman? So, hey, Latte. So he said, I'd gather some men are mentally and emotionally fulfilled dealing with a younger woman. So, all right, Latte. I don't remember exactly how old you are, but you and I go way, way back to 2011, 10 or 11 or something when I was doing the Xavier Fox talk show regularly and I was running the dating service and all that kind of good stuff. So, you are educated. You have quite a good command of the English language. That was one of the things I always liked about you because you don't tend to use the same words over and over again, and you're not real into slang because I don't really understand much slang at all. So, do you really think that you would be mentally fulfilled with a 22-year-old? You also have a daughter. So, that question is for you, Monte. Do you think you personally would be fulfilled mentally with a 22-year-old? What are you going to talk about? Ponder that for a minute. Okara says he understands the point, and his point has a lot of validity to it in my experience. So you're saying the guy's point with the older women being hurt, disillusioned, played, and disappointed. So is that what you find in older women? Or I don't want to call them older women because to me, an older woman is 75. That's an older woman. Prior to that, you are still pretty vital. Most, if you've taken care of yourself over the. Me and this shirt are gonna fight because these little tie things. I bought this shirt at the last minute. I don't even know. Oh, Jesus, clothes. Why do we have to wear them? Anyway, okay, I wouldn't describe it like that, but I understand the concept. Okay, well, you know what? Since you are a guest on the show, when your time comes, maybe we can touch on that because you have a pretty surprising story to share with us all, and I can't wait till it's time for you to come on. right. Still waiting for the first group of guests, and we're almost into the time frame for the second group of guests, which should be our young lady, who is going to tell us why she enjoys older men. And I just hope that she'll show up. How about that? Okay, all right. Let me see what's going on here. Excuse me another minute while I check in over here and see what they are doing. This is actually why I like the live audience shows, because when you have the live audience, everybody has to be there before the show because you got to get your places and make sure that everything is good. And you know who's going to be there, and they're going to be there on time because you have them show up ahead of time. With this, what you call this, virtual shows, I don't like the virtual shows as much because you never know if they're going to call in, if they're not going to call in, even though they confirm. You just don't know. I probably should stop. I see on my screen that I'm squinting or frowning up a lot. I don't need any frown lines. I want to stay young looking. But I'm doing the show like on my phone so that I can maneuver in the studio on my computer. And the phone, the words on the phone are so little. Okay. Let's see here. What am I looking for? Okay. All right. Well, I know that my fathers are in the house. So are the older guys who date younger women chickening out? Are they chickening out on me? Is that what's going on? They don't want. Oh my goodness. That says a lot. That says a lot in itself. So they're not going to show up to talk about it, even though they said they would. Is there actually a little shame about it? Is there some shame on this? Maybe not all, because as I said before, I ran off some celebrity couples that have 15 plus years of age difference between them. So not with all couples, even though a lot of the information I read on those celebrity couples, it said that they had private weddings. So is there some shame associated with this older man, younger woman thing? Are the women ashamed? Are the men actually ashamed to admit it? I'm just starting to wonder now because everybody's been so gung-ho. I got the fathers. The fathers are ready to rock and roll. But these men, uh-huh, uh-huh, huh? Well, I tell you what, you know me. You guys know me, so they're not going to get out of it that easily. So if they do not show up for the show, I am going to list the questions that I was going to ask them and tag them on this thread, on this video. We're going to get with them one way or another. We're going to get those answers from them one way or another. I am really happy with how the video is flowing though. This is so much better than the first time. The first time I had such a problem. And this time it's a whole lot better. Okay, let's see. I have a new comment down here. Oh, and there's Paigey Poo. Hey. And she's laughing at me. It's all good. It's all good. I'll just sit here and talk. I have my topic. And we're going to keep on going. Because the show must go on. And it is 3:15. It is now time to talk to our young lady who dates older men. But let's see if she's going to check in. Why are these people afraid? This says a lot, though. it says a lot that they don't want to talk about it. But they agreed to talk about it. But when it comes time to say it, oh, you gonna, because I'm gonna tag them anyway. Girl, you know I'm gonna tag them. I'm gonna tag them, and if they ignore me on the tag, I'm going into their inbox, and then I'm going on their page. They're not gonna get away from me. Hey, Kelly, what's going on, girl? You should be doing the show with me so we can talk about why older men date younger women. Because, yeah, we can analyze them since we've been trained to do so. Though I'm done analyzing people. I just, most of us are just trying to hang on by a thread anyway, due to all the other stuff that we've been through. We're all a culmination of our life experiences. So it is what it is. But I definitely appreciate those of you who are watching the show. And I apologize for my guests. Again, this is the part that I hate about the virtual shows, because you don't know if they're going to actually click the link and show up. I've had people say they fell asleep, whatever. But if it were an in-person show, they would already be here, at least an hour prior to the show starting. So I would know who we were working with and what we were going to do, and I'd be able to adjust. Because, I can adjust. I'm adaptable. I can adjust on the spot. I just need to know. I hate having to adjust like I just had to do. So the first whole segment with the older guys, and now we're waiting on the young lady to call in, because I had some questions for her as well. Now, the thing about the young lady, I was wondering if she was actually going to not call in, that she was going to actually participate, because first of all, I'm sure you guys probably saw that I posted, what do you call it? Do you call it a flyer if it's online? An online flyer? I posted an online flyer for young women who date older men. I also asked for women over 40 who had dated older men when they were in their 20s. One of my female friends, when I was talking about it this morning, she was saying that women who date older men don't generally tend to want to talk about it, because they're dating them for a reason. They're dating them because of the finances, and who wants to say that? And she said they will say it to their friends, that he's doing this for me or he's doing that for me, but they don't necessarily want to be seen in public with them or any of that stuff. So I was wondering if the young lady was going to show up. She's got about 12 more minutes, and then we'll see what happens after that. Let me see here. Looks like we got a guest in the studio. Oh, so yep, well, at least he's there. Here we go. So we're going to bring on who was supposed to be the first guest on the show, and I would like you all to welcome Mr. I hope I don't mess up your last name, Mr. Tobias Frierson. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey there, Tobias. How you doing?
Oh, my life is amazing. How are you?
Oh my goodness, I'm amazing as well. I'm just doing so great, and I'm glad that you did. You said you were running late, so I'm glad that you did come on and join me. So
Yeah, I made the commitment. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and be here. I'd rather let you know if things are running late. Hey, like I said, put it out there, tell you, and at least versus the no call, no show.
Absolutely, because you fired people for that. But since I
Right.
couldn't fire you, I'm just glad you didn't do that to me. So before we start the show, now that you're here, we can actually start the show. I just been running my mouth, saving time or whatever. So one of the things that was said during a discussion as I was prepping for this show last week, a guy said a man grooms his wife. One cannot groom an over-the-hill woman that has done it all. And so this is the premise for where I wanted to put the show. And I thought it was good to start it off with that, Tobias, because one of the things that you said on a thread that made me ask you to be on the show, you said, I develop their brains so that they suit my needs. I make them better. Can you expound on that?
Yeah, first off, right, understanding who I am as a man came first, right? What are my needs? What do I like? What do I dislike? What will I will and will or what will I and will I not accept, right, in my woman? So that has to come first, right? Is the work that goes on inside a man. I've been able to do that, right? I've completed that still growth, right, that comes along with it. But for the most part, that is complete. Then when I meet a woman, right, it's about, okay, she's kind of, when she's younger, she's kind of in, a blank canvas a lot of times. She's an open slate. And it's okay, well, first understanding who she is, right? Is she even gonna mesh well with who I am as a man? Because if she's not, there's no reason for me to put any time, right, into her. Just not, I can let her go. Let somebody else, meet her. That's cool. I'm not going to try to, force her hand. That's not who I am. And when it comes to making her better, it is going to be showing her things, teaching her, different life situations that she may not have come across, right? Letting her know, like, okay, well, problems come up in people's lives every day. Well, how do you think through those problems? Not a lot of times feel through those problems. Your heart was meant for pumping blood, not making decisions.
Okay. I have a guy friend that says that all the time. He says women make decisions based on their emotions and men don't do that.
Typically, we do not. Sometimes, we do, but for the most part, we do not. And helping her grow, helping her like really think through like the situation, like, okay, here's the problem, right? Yeah. All right. Well, why did it happen? Let's understand that. Okay. Now, what can we do to actually solve that problem? Right. And then not just trying to jump towards that first solution. Let's look at a couple different ways, right? Because, we always heard, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Well, there is. Let's pick the best, let's look at all these solutions, think about which one's going to have the most proper or the best impact, right, for us, understand why we're not going to choose those other solutions, and then move forward with the right one. That is how you want to help her grow, or that is how I can
Okay.
help her grow.
And my dad told me that when I was in my teens. So okay, let me not get ahead of myself. So let me just confirm my information with you. So you're 41
Correct.
and you date 22 to 29.
No, really, it's been probably, I say, like 24, 25 to 29 now. It's like I dated, younger women like 21, 22, 23, and it's been cool. But how we connect, how we mesh, a lot of times it doesn't go too well. So I'm like, all right, let me step away from them and, just up the age range just a bit to see if there's actually a difference. And there actually has been so far.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that a woman changes a little bit at 25. There's a difference between, since I was a woman in my 20s at one point, the 21, 22-year-old me was different than the 25, 26-year-old me, as was the 30 and 35. I think we definitely change at different ages. So the things that you were talking about, when you said how to make decisions or how to solve problems and, looking at your options and choosing the best ones and which ones won't work. Do you find that the women that you date, do they have fathers?
I typically only date women that have fathers in their life. Right? That's kind of like my thing. When a woman doesn't have a father in her life, that's going to be a whole other host, right, of things that she has to deal with.
So
Say again?
have the fathers, have any of them said anything to you?
No, I'll meet them, right? Or something, I know, all right. I've noticed sometimes they, won't bring me around like that. And that's okay. That's her choice. But if that is what if that's what she chooses, I'm not going to try to push on that, right? Sometimes it might be, we're hanging out for a minute, we're dating for a while, and it's just fun. Okay, I can get that. That's what she's looking for.
Okay.
But I'm not going to like, hey, what, let me meet your father like that. Because I'm not going to try to just jump in and be like, oh, I'm about to put a ring on your finger. No, that's going to take some time. I got to really understand you. I got to understand who your family is, right? What are your principles, the morals, the values? Because we may not align. But if it's just fun, sometimes it is just fun. And
So
they choose
would,
that.
would would you actually marry a 24 or 25-year-old at 41?
Yes, I would.
You would. Okay. So let me ask you this then. Aside from like dinner dates, what or lunch, aside from food type dates, what type of dates have you taken these young women on?
Well, I have not taken anyone. Like I travel a lot, right? Even pre-COVID, anyone who knows me know I was running around the world quite a bit, and I wasn't even in the headspace, right? Of oh, let me take a woman with me because I was in that major playboy style of my life, and so yeah, I wasn't trying to do all that. If it wasn't dinner dates now, right? Maybe it will be a lounge maker. I'm gonna actually I have a date scheduled. I'm taking a young woman with me to like the Van Gogh Art Museum or the Van Gogh in San Francisco here next weekend, right? So I like a woman who can actually be enriched, who wants to learn more about than just okay what she read in a book, right, or what she saw on TV or what she read in a magazine. Let's go see something. So it's not going to be just like I said, dinner dates, lounges. That's easy to do. It's also going to get boring. Let's go do something, right? Let's go. Whether we run to San Diego, kick it at the beach. If we're in San Francisco, we doing I like to shop. I like fashion. I like clothes. I'm gonna spend some money. I like fragrances. Always have. Even before that man Kevin Samuels was talking about it. I was right. I was rocking nice fragrances, which I was like, oh, you trying to put folks on the game? But yeah, I want a woman who actually wants to do things that I enjoy doing, whether it's rock climbing, right? Or like I
And
said,
so
me,
you're
I'm a
saying that
big person of beaches.
you can't find that in a woman over. So you're 41, maybe a woman 35. You can't find that in a 35-year-old.
Oh, I didn't say I couldn't. I just choose, right? Yeah, not to look that direction. That's it's a choice.
Oh, okay, you choose it. Do you? So do you have any
Exactly.
kids?
Yeah, I have one.
Is it a daughter or son?
I have a son.
Okay. Um, and so what do you tell him about women?
Oh, well, that's can you narrow that question down? 'Cause that's really, really broad, right? So, well, what do you tell him
Okay.
about women?
Okay. So how can I ask how old your son is?
He is 16.
Oh, so he's just starting out. So he sees. Does he see these younger women that you date? What does he say to you? Maybe I should ask that.
No, he's met like one or two women. He lives with me, right, for like 80% of the time. I don't a lot of times bring women around my son like that unless I know it's going to be a bit more.
All
That's
right.
one thing I don't do. And right now, I also tell him, like I said, he's 16, he's in high school. I'm like, look here, don't worry about them girls. Focus on your academics. Focus because he plays soccer. Focus on soccer. He likes his video games, like a whole bunch of 16-year-old young men, and that's what he does. I'm like, focus on that. Those women, those girls, they're gonna be there. You ain't got to worry about them right now.
Oh, so
And
that's saying you can lose money chasing women, but you won't lose women chasing money.
absolutely, but I mean, he's not. Uh, we have some other things going right now, right? Which to help him actually, build his knowledge, right, or his financial knowledge. But yeah, I'm like, don't worry about girls now. But there's a caveat to that. When you ignore them, they will chase you more. And he is a very, very attractive young man, right? He's tall, he's fit, and they're looking. But I'm like, don't worry about him. Don't
That's
worry about him.
so when you ignore women, they will. So I have to ask you this question. Um, is there a big part of your attraction or choice preference for the 24 to 29 year olds? Is a big part of that the sexuality? Is it sex?
Not really the sexuality, because I met women who were in their 30s and their 40s, and the sex was great, right? So they fully owned their sexuality. So I would not say, oh, a younger woman is just trying to do more than a woman who is older than her she is.
Okay. Well, that's definitely a big question for me because it seems like a lot of the guys that claim to like younger women, that's one of the things they tout is that the sex is better. As a matter of fact, the other guy that hopefully is going to call in shortly because he should have called in already. One of the things that he talked about, his statement was that older men don't want to deal with no old, nagging, and bitter woman. Men don't need you to take care of us. It's a preference. Young coochie is better than old coochie. I said it. It is what it is. What would be your thoughts on that comment?
Okay, can you repeat that one more time? That there was a lot in that statement. I might want to take some notes so I can
Okay,
expound upon it.
all right.
Got my pen, notebook. Go ahead. Can
Break it
you?
down for me. So he said,
Okay.
older men don't
Uh-huh.
want to deal with no old, nagging, and bitter woman. Men don't need you to take care of us. It's a preference. Young coochie is better than old coochie. I said it. It is what it is.
Okay. Let's see here. So let's jump on the nagging thing, right? Any woman can nag. Yeah, I don't care what age group she in. She can nag. She because if you're not handling your business, right, and you in a relationship with a woman and you said you was gonna do something and you not doing it, she gonna be at you. Honestly, she's gonna be at you. Or if she's not at you verbally, watch her body language. She'll be folding her arms, like just she's and he can you can feel that energy coming from her. And he may think like, oh, she nagging, Well, if you handle your business, right? Hey babe, I gotta go to the store, go get this milk real quick. Or you said you was gonna bring home milk, eggs, and whatever it is, and you didn't do it. Or you said you was gonna clean the backyard, whatever it is, and you're not doing that day in and day out, she's gonna start nagging. It's what it is. But then sometimes she might nag you about stuff that's from her past, right? A lot of times women do project stuff from their past onto their current situation. I've been there a couple of times. And it's like, damn, why are that was the last dude, right? If something, right, that may be uh, similar to what he did, why don't you just tell me, right? Because I might not, if I don't know, I can't fix the problem, right? And if you just go change it up like that, also you just because that a lot of times it is verbal. Uh, he won't know where it's coming from. It does come. I think it's a lack of communication skills. She just won't say what's going on. A lot of times I've learned that women just expect or think we know what's going on within them, and we don't. So we're not mind readers. Just like women, like, hey, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're trying to communicate. Just use your words. The nagging, yeah, is can be a thing, a massive, massive thing. But if you're not playing your position, if you're not handling your business, keeping your word, she gonna come at you. So don't be mad when she call you on your shit when you didn't deliver like you said you was gonna do.
Okay.
Then,
Okay.
then taking being taken care of. Well, every man. Well, when you say taken care of, I'd like to know how's he defining or how's he defining being taken care of,
I
right?
think it's that whole thing where women's because men have said they want a woman that's educated, making six figures, or successful on her job, owns her this and owns her that, and then there are men who say they're not really looking for all of that.
Okay, then all right. Both sides of that I'm gonna get at. The first part of that, right? Men saying they want women earning, six figures plus. Come on, the majority of men don't earn six figures. Right? That is the truth. It's only 10%, right, of men in America. If you want to break it down to black men, I got those numbers too from Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And we're talking about taxable income. Most black men ain't pulling that. They're not in that tax bracket. I am. But I had to just I just had to put it out there. No, but most men they not in that tax bracket. So if they claim they want a woman making that money, this is women hypergamy has always been real. Always women will typically go for a man who can provide more. And if she can provide for herself, you got to be doing better than her, right? You have to. And if the majority of black men ain't making what they're making, well, then that's right. That's a problem. Yeah, it's going to be a matter, right? So I want making six figures. Oh, but then you also want to feel like or think that you can provide for her. Well, how are you going to provide for her? Because she can provide for herself financially, but what are you able to provide for her mentally, emotionally, right? Like physically, obviously. There's a lot more that's going to be there, but that financial part is massive because if she don't want to work no more, it's real. You got to be able to cover her lifestyle, and she has that. And even Chris Rock said it a long time ago in one of his stand-ups: women cannot go backwards in their lifestyle, Men don't go backwards financially. And if you look at it, it's the truth across all demographics. When a woman gets to that point in her life, she's like, yeah, I ain't going backwards. I'll stay right here. So yeah, that's one side of it, right?
Actually, he said that men won't go back
Sexually. And no,
Right.
exactly. Sexually. Men won't go backwards sexually. Women don't go backwards in lifestyle.
Right.
And yeah, I discovered that also. It's just like you out there, you dating. It's the truth.
Right. He
Yes.
said if you wear stilettos or something, one time you wearing them all the time. I don't ever want to see your bare feet again.
Exactly. But you know what? Okay, again, I like that in a woman. I love the woman who's sexy. You know, she owns her femininity like that. Like, oh, I need this bag. I gotta get my hair done. I gotta get my nails done. I'm looking good. Oh, I like women who look better than me. I'm fly. I know when I step out, they checking. Real tough. I need a woman that's prettier than me, right? That's going just he's supposed to have her.
Okay,
What it
so
is.
I got a lot of
On the next side of that, it was
okay, yeah, the coochie part. The young coochie is better than old
yes.
coochie. Yes or no, true or false?
Yes, it is. Yes,
And
it is.
what makes it better?
Feeling, right? It's definitely feeling. Now, hold on. But all right, let's just like if you're talking about sex, no condom, right? So we can actually feel this woman. Oh yeah, she is she does feel better. Maybe she hasn't had because vagina can snap back, right? It can definitely snap back, but it don't snap back till when she's 24, right?
I don't think it snaps back pre birth. Like
Correct, right? True. It'll snap back, but it's not gonna snap to
once you
pre-birth.
give birth,
When a woman is younger like that, uh, that's okay though. But if especially if she gave birth for that man, she gave him a child, you can't say nothing. She gave you a child. That's straight up, right? She gave you that. So
okay.
yeah, but yeah, younger women, vagina, it does. That's
I definitely appreciate you following through and coming on the show today. I appreciate your comments. It's a very mature outlook on it. I'm not mad at you. You know, we all have preferences. You know,
true.
so I'm definitely not mad at you. We got a few of the other guests that are showing up now, and once you get too many on this platform, it starts going crazy. So
Okay.
I'm gonna thank you for participating, and just watch the show. Finish watching the show because I may want you to come back in. It depends. If anybody has any questions for Tobias, be sure and put it in the comments for him, and I will bring him back on later to answer any questions that you guys may have for him. And so right now, I am going to bring on my next guest who has a very surprising story that I heard last night. I was a little shocked because I had him just on the dad stream. And then I found out I should be putting him on the older man to date younger women stream. So what's going on there, Okara?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All
Yeah.
right,
Thank
good.
you for coming on. I definitely appreciate it.
All right. So, just to kind of clear something up, I don't I don't have a preference for like young women, and I haven't actually dated many young women. But as I was telling you yesterday, probably about 3, almost 4 years ago, I was out and I saw two young ladies who were at a more mature party. Like the setting was probably between 30s to 45, 46, whatever, or older. And so to entertain myself, I just started talking. I eventually got one of them number, and it wasn't until we started talking on the phone that I found out how young she was. And so and she was considerably younger than me. She was 23, 24, something like that. So we started talking. We were talking day after day. Eventually, we ended up having sex, and we continued having sex for a little while. Um, so before that, I wouldn't even entertain younger women. I'm just like most people. Well, I feel like where could you even really have anything in common? So most of my comments is really going to be about that specific person.
Okay,
And
so let me ask you this question,
go ahead.
because let me see. Kick from okay. I'm just so you said that you guys had sex and you continue to have sex for a little while. So let me just ask you, what kind of dates did you guys go on?
We only went on 2 dates. We only went out a couple of times. We went to the movies, I want to say twice.
Okay. And what did you guys have in common?
Actually, we had, I guess you could say, similar beliefs as far as like honesty, just that type of stuff. She watched TV like I watch TV. But we would talk about everything. We would talk about business. She worked, but she was also like an entrepreneur. So so we talked about that. We talked about relationships. She was college educated, I was college educated, so we talked about times in college. It was pretty much just like anybody my age.
Okay.
We would
So
talk for hours on hours. We would talk
we
about sex. We would talk about different stuff.
we have a guest that wants to know how old you are.
I'm 46 now.
Okay, and how old was she?
Well, at the time, I want to say she was 23.
Wow.
So
So you were
so I
twice.
wasn't 46 at the time.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yes, this was years ago.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one of the original reasons that I had you on the show was because you are actually the father of a daughter.
Yes, I have a 7-year-old daughter.
And so I just want the perspective. So what will you tell your daughter about dating older men? Is that something that you would want your daughter to do?
So actually being in it, and it wasn't actually that much different than other relationships or other situations I've been in with women who were my age. Um, so I would have to I would basically explain to my daughter, what are the downfalls, what to look for, because I do know, because the young lady that I dealt with, she had other situations where she was dating other men. And so we also talked about that, and we talked about the difference between our interaction and what their interactions was. And so sometimes, previous relationships she's had, they were controlling. I wasn't. So, my advice to my daughter would be, what to look for, you know, what is a good situation, what is a bad situation, what you can get out of it, what you might not get out of it. So, it would be pretty much the same conversation I would have about any man.
Oh,
It's everything. Everybody has their own little twist to it. Um, I know a lot of guys who were the same age as women and who ruined women. So it's not as if it's like this drastic thing that could happen that changes the scope. Most of the people in our 30, when you in your 30s and 35s and you become bitter, it wasn't because you was dating older men. It was because you was dating dudes your age. So the one thing I will say, as far as that particular person is concerned, out of all of the women I've ever dated, um, as far as being able to like work through issues, I would rate her the second highest.
oh wow. And she
Like,
was only 23.
yes, me and her worked through issues better than 99%, I could only think of one person who who I was able to work through issues with better than that young lady. And
Wow.
this is actually a conversation I just had recently with a friend of mine. So as far as she is concerned, um, I've I've talked to since her, I've talked to other young women, and and wouldn't even explore it because of what I felt like they maturity was. But as
Okay.
far as she was concerned, um, it worked.
Okay. So for you, I feel like your choice is not necessarily dating younger women. Your choice was to date that woman, and she just happened to be younger.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
I don't actually go out and seek younger women. It's not my preference. Preference is women my age. But in that situation, um, it worked. And now, like I said, well, I don't know if, like I said, young women are not my preference. So because of that reason, I don't know if I would marry somebody that drastically younger than me. And that's just not, and that's for a lot of reasons. And more of it is probably in relation to her, because I mean, when it's such a, at some point, you get old. Like father time is undefeated, and so a young woman walking around with an older guy, that might be an issue for her eventually. And so thinking about that, I probably wouldn't do it, just because of her, for the benefit of her. But that's just me. Other guys may not feel that way, but but for what it was, um, you know, I wouldn't give it back. I wouldn't give the experience back.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that, Okara. You are always a great guest and a great co-host when you were that for me as well. So I am going to bring on some of the fathers, and of course you were one of the fathers, but we moved you to a whole for thing. So I'm gonna bring on some of the fathers now who have some thoughts on older men dating their daughters. So anybody that's already been on, you can go off of, you can get out of the back room if you've already been on, so that we can let everybody in, because StreamYard only allows me to have 10 people in there. If you have not been on yet, then stay in the back area. So right now I'm going to, okay, Darwin. I thought you were just in here. Darwin, I need you to come on in here so that we can. I just saw you. Where'd you go? Darwin Jackson, I am summoning you to the show. Where are you? Come on back in here. Oh, we'll go to the next one until you come on back in here. All right, next up is going to be Ralph Liggins. And Ralph actually has a couple daughters in that age group that men seem to like their women in, that 22 to 29. Hey, Ralph.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm alive and kicking. I woke up this morning, so everything gravy after that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Darwin, I said watch it from my page until it was time for you to call in. Your call-in time was 3:45. Well, not call-in time, but now you can click on the link so you can go backstage so I can bring you on. All right, Ralph, so tell me how you feel about, because you have, what, three daughters between 22 and 29?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And me personally, I got an issue. I can't do that. And I have an issue with men that will try to talk to my daughters that are around, like, say, my age. Me personally, my oldest daughter is 38. You have to be 10 years older than that, which would make you 48. But I'm 58. So you still got to be a little older. I can't see me dating anybody in the 30s at all. For
Yeah, is
what?
that so? You said you're 58, so 38 would make them 20 years younger. So you definitely wouldn't be into the 22 to 29-year-olds.
Oh no, no, not at all. And I have issues with men that are interested in that, because I'm like, you should have children or nieces around that age, So why would you want to engage yourself into that? I personally couldn't see it happening.
Do you think that somebody said those men are groomers? They choose younger women because they are easily manipulated. Do you think that's why older men often choose younger women, because they're easier to mentally manipulate and get them to do what they want them to do?
I would say so to a certain aspect, because as a father, I'm in my daughter's life. So there's nothing another man can come and get over on them that I haven't already schooled them or taught them about. But yes, I do see men take advantage of women and at that age, because yes, they're looking for a father figure. They're looking for somebody that has a little bit more stability based off of what they think. But I believe it all should come from the home first. So that way they wouldn't be suspect to that. You wouldn't fall, young women wouldn't fall for that trap. And again, why do men want to go for that? What is it? Just a sex thing, a control thing? I don't get it, you know?
So do you talk to your younger daughters? Because you have a 22, a 25, and a 28-year-old, right?
Yes.
Do you talk to them about that? What would you tell your daughters if your 22-year-old brought home a 45-year-old? What would you say?
Well, we had the conversation as they were young girls growing up. And I used to say to them, I'm the biggest hoe I know. So I could tell you what these men are about. And if my daughter brought home a man 20 years older than her, I would have a conversation with her, ask her, what are your interests? But I'm definitely going to have a conversation with him, ask him what is his interest and what you doing here? And you can't find somebody else your age, because you ain't going to get nowhere with mine.
So I don't know if you were watching the show from my page when the first guy was on, Tobias. So he dates 24 to 29 and he's 41. So, but he said he takes them to events that somewhat educate him. He seemed like a very educated, articulate man. So would it matter what type of man he was and what he was exposing your daughter to?
Well, and I kind of get that from his aspect. And yes, you do want to be able to have somebody that you can kind of groom if you're a little older. But that's a nice age gap. I would say within a 10-year range, that's possible, that's doable. But if you want to go back to 10, 20, 25 years, your junior, where are the parents and the males in her family that should have raised her to give her those experiences? Fathers, grandfathers, uncles, where are they at? Where have they been? That's a concern that I would have. That's a question I would have. That should happen. Now, I get it. There are not a lot of men in the family like that to give these young girls those experiences. I understand. But for a man who wants to do that with a younger woman, to me, it's still more of a manipulative. Even though you might be educating them, you're still manipulating to this younger person. You're older, you should know better. You should want to do better, and you should want somebody your age.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing that with me. I definitely want to give the fathers, and since you actually have 3 daughters in that age group, I'm like, okay, I definitely want to talk to him and see how he would feel about it, because like I said, you got 3, 22, 25, and 28. So, them older guys, they hanging around your house.
Yeah, they coming all the time. Yeah.
They got you staked out, like he got all the goodies in there.
Well, you know what though? To be honest with you, my daughters know. They said when you come see my dad, you be in full. You're gonna be ready. Just be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it was with my dad. I'm an only child, but my dad, it was more of the intellectual capacity.
Yes.
I brought like an idiot home. My dad was going to call him out that he was an idiot, because dad was going to talk to him until it was obvious that this dude was an idiot. And then he was going to ask me, what was I doing with the idiot?
Yes.
So that just kind of carried over to my adulthood. So when I'm talking to guys, I ask a lot of questions and I talk a lot until it becomes obvious to me, okay, this right here is an idiot. I'm just going to let this go. Yeah, I might have got fooled once or twice. I don't know. But anyway.
That's how we learn. That's how we learn.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
If anybody has questions for Ralph, please feel free to post them as comments, and then we'll bring them back later. But now we're going to bring Darwin on. And Darwin, are you there?
I'm right here. Can you see me and hear me?
I can see you and hear you. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for showing
Good.
up.
I'm enjoying your show so far.
How am I doing? What?
I said I'm enjoying your show so far.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm enjoying it too, even though it's getting a little hot over here, and I'm getting close to 4 o'clock. So you were going to share something that you had heard or read, or some story that you had.
Yeah, but before I do this, I just want to point. You know what? I probably shouldn't do that. All right. So I think what you're talking about. I told you about a young lady I know who ended up dating an older gentleman, probably about 20 years or so older than her. And when I heard about it, I didn't care for it at all. I didn't like it at all. I didn't think it was a good idea. I don't think it was a good thing at all. Like the prior gentleman who was before me, I feel as though when you dig that deep, or when you go looking for a woman in that age category, I don't think your intentions are the purest. I do think it's usually some type of control thing of some sort. There are enough beautiful women 40 plus that you don't have to go that low, and deal with that. So uh, they ended up being in a relationship. Um, she got pregnant by him.
Mm.
She got pregnant by him. The child is now 2 years old. He still hasn't seen the child. He totally disregarded her and have not seen the child. And so that makes me think. That makes me feel that in that case anyway, that probably he just used her while she was still fresh, but she didn't have any children. And once a child comes into the play, he disappeared, even though it's his child. I just don't think that it's the best situation for a younger woman, especially under 25. When you're that young, and they say women mature faster than men, and I'm not sure if that's absolutely true. But when you're that young, there's still a sense of self that you're learning. Even if you grew up with a father in your home that showed you things and exposed you to life, that still at that age, 23, 24, 25, you're exploring, you're learning new things, and you want to try new things. So an older man comes and says whatever he says to you, that can become very appealing. I can understand why a younger woman would want an older man. I absolutely understand that. I want to make some comments about some of the things the first gentleman said. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. First of all, he never answered your question. You asked him what dates did he take the women on? And first he was saying, well, I don't like doing dinner dates. And then he said, I like to travel a lot. And when I was traveling before COVID, I didn't see a reason why I wanted to be a playboy or something like that, he said. And then he wanted to say, well, I have a date coming up. I'm going to take her to the art museum, whatever he said. He never said that he took any of those younger women on a date. So you can deal with that later on. And so, and even with that, sure, there are mature younger women, no doubt about it, as they are mature young men. I just don't think an older man who has experienced life and have done several things in life will find a great interest in the woman that young, unless it's purely sexual. Now, and that's my opinion. Everyone has opinion. Everyone has their own truth. But the conversation that the gentleman who talked earlier, Okera, or his name was, one, I respect what he said because he said he didn't pursue younger women. It just kind of happened, and I get that. So he met someone who was mature enough to talk with him, and that's fine. But I think inside of anyone 40 plus, there becomes a yearning to communicate with people in your own age category, people that you can relate to, people that have the same type of ambitions, same type of goals, and maybe some of the same experiences. You know, I just don't think it's healthy for the young lady to date a man, 20 years or senior.
Okay, let me see. Let's get some dialogue here. Let's see. Okay, Tobias is gone. Tobias, if you're still watching out there, you can link back into the show and you can respond to what Darwin just had to say. Darwin, thank you so much for your comments. That was really good. So you have two daughters, 25 and 26. So they're hanging out around your house too. You got the
Well,
good over there as well, huh?
They're doing. My daughter's doing okay right now.
Okay.
Right now, they don't have any problems with older guys that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Neither one of them live with me, and so I don't see them every day. I talk with them pretty often, but I don't see them every day. Now, but they've had an example of how a man should treat a woman, and when they were younger, I talked to them a lot about that, how a man should treat a woman, and I demonstrated it too, how a man should treat a woman. So they're aware of things, but like I said, when you get a certain age, you start trying to do stuff a little different, maybe go against the grain. I have a son too. I have a son. He's a little older. So, like, I can tell my son something that I absolutely know about, but he'll say, "But my friend said." My friend said, I said, "Man, your friend don't know what he's talking about." The same thing happens with women. They hear from other people, and people who don't have necessarily a real interest and a real love for their care and real concern for how they end up. Because what we do today a lot of times affects what happens later on in life.
That's true. Okay, thank you for that. And just sit backstage for a minute. I'm going to see if Tobias comes back in. Right now, we're going to bring another father on, Mr. Scott. And he's got a daughter that's 20. So he's got some goodies over there too. So Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you've got a young daughter, and I know you a little bit, Mr. Military and all of that kind of stuff. So how do you feel about a man 20 years older coming for your 20-year-old daughter?
Well, what I feel about a man is I feel that he's probably running from his current self. There's a lot of reasons why a man might go younger. I've dated younger. I've never really, I should rephrase that. I've partied with younger. I don't really date younger. For the same reason I don't go 20 years above my age is the same reason I don't go 20 years below my age. And it's just about compatibility. People who have lived in your time understand your times and you can talk to them. It's really hard to roll over and have a conversation in the morning about things that are going on in the world that impact you with someone who doesn't see it, hasn't felt it, hasn't had to struggle with it. As a matter of fact, probably shut it out because their dad, who's probably within 20, 30 years of your own age, complains about it, and they just shut it out as something that's just what old folks talk about. So, fortunately, I don't have to worry about that with my daughter. She tends to stay with people around her age. As far as men that want to date younger, there's a dozen and one reasons why they might do this. But for me, what I have found the most common reason is to escape their own challenges and go to something that is not challenging, meaning they've already lived 20 years ago. So to deal with a woman that they dealt with 20 years ago, that's something they're familiar with. That's something easy. They can answer those questions. A woman their age, a woman in their age category, those questions might be a little bit more complicated. Those questions might have pushback, how dare you even ask me that question? Where a younger woman who's still impressed with your status, your success, your ability to survive, the car, the house, the whatever it is, they're not going to push back because they're not wanting to or willing to lose something they've never had. So to me, I think it comes from a little bit of, again, can't speak for all men because there's different reasons why you might date younger, but most of it, it's just for simplicity.
Do you think that part of that is ego? That sometimes, as you said, I remember what you said, but for some reason I can't verbalize it right now. But do you think that older men go after younger women sometimes because it's ego of having that younger woman on their arm?
Again, that depends on the man. That is a play for most men, I would argue. Look at this young thing. I have not lost it yet. So that is the ego part of it. I can still pull them. That's the ego part of it. I can have 2 or 3 on the side that's not questioning my lifestyle. That's a legal aspect of it. An older woman has got her own. Like, I don't need to play this game with you. You know, get your shit together, then come talk to me. And that's not a game that you can play on older women or women your own age. They have expectations. So I'd say most of it is ego. And a lot of it is simplicity. I know I said that earlier, but it's just easy. You know,
Okara said, "What's wrong with wanting simplicity?"
no, and I get that. Trust me. When I go out and I play my pool and I'm rocking in the club and whatever I'm doing, simplicity works. It's an escape. But understand that's why I went out, is to escape. So simplicity works in those terms. If we're judging men who are not committing, then I think that might be a little bit harsh. If we are judging men that are trying to commit to a younger woman, that they're trying to marry, they're 50, they're trying to marry 30, I think there's an issue there. I think there's a psychological issue there. Fun is fun. To actually live your life and grow with an individual that you would not be able to end your life with, I think is probably short-sighted and shallow, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Scott, for coming on the show. Of course, I always appreciate your opinion. I love the conversations that we've had. So, and I'm trying to get in touch with you because I need you to do something to my computer. But, you know, that's a whole nother discussion. But I'm going to be in touch with you soon.
All righty there.
Okay, thank you. All right. So my next guest, I'm sure that he will have some really great stuff to say as well because he has a whole lot of letters behind his name, LCSW and CADC, and he's been trained in all kind of stuff. And he has a young daughter on top of that. So, yes. Khalid, welcome to the show.
Hey, X, I've missed you, baby sis. I've missed you.
Oh, I missed you too. We got to get together. You kind of got to come to one of my brunches that I got going on. So now you have a beautiful young daughter that just entered out into the world. And what are you going to say or do when that 39 or 45-year-old man comes to your house for your beautiful young daughter? Because you have put all your time and energy into making that all right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know what, X, I've thought about that a lot, especially because the women in my family tend to date older men. My dad was 20 years older than my mom.
Oh, wow.
But he was married. And my mother was a 17-year-old. My aunts and cousins, I even married younger. My wife was 6 years younger than me. And, you know, I had a discussion with Anaya about that. Like, Anaya, you may be predisposed to dating older men because on both sides of your family, the women tend to be with older men. And she was like, no, Daddy, I had a daddy growing up. So I don't feel the need to fulfill some daddy issues or whatever. And I said, well, okay, but the thing about my daughter is, though she's 18, if you sat down with her, Xavier, you would think you would be talking to your counterpart because her whole demeanor, the way she talks, her maturity level is of a 30-year-old woman. Now, you add on the part that I'm a mentor to 20-something, 30-something teenage mentees. And X, I love my mentees and I have all the optimism of our young men. But when I'm mentoring these young guys and I see how they are, I'm fearful of my daughter's 18, I'm fearful of a 23-year-old trying to date her. You know what I'm saying? And not that older men won't play games, because we will, but it's just something about I don't know. I think they may be, and I hate using this word, but it's the only word I can think of. They may feel a little intimidation behind dating her because she has a strong dad, one, and number two, she's very mature. So you're not going to get a Cardi B vibe from Anaya Scott.
Right.
That ain't happening. You're going to get a Michelle Obama. Now, if you're a 25-year-old young man and you got a Barack Obama's kind of or about yourself, then maybe they will connect. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
do I have a preference? I would prefer that she maybe date somebody maybe 5 years her senior, maybe.
Okay.
And that's only because of what I've experienced. But again, it may be some young man out there who's 18 who's her equivalent, and I hope it is. But I
Feel
don't
that
often see it.
Anaya might be kind of better off with someone a little older because in her age group, she's just not going to relate. They're not going to relate. So okay, so let's go back to Okara's story. I don't know if you heard Okara's story. So he doesn't have a preference for younger women, but he happened to meet a younger woman that just had that, I guess, Michelle Obama type air about her. And it just wound up happening that way. So how would you react to something like that?
So if she met a 30-year-old and she's 19, she'll be 19 in a few weeks. I would have to meet him, and to be honest, I would be leery because, again, just like what my brother Scott said just before I came on, it always feels like when an older man meets a younger woman, it might be an agenda. I know me. If I dated a younger woman, I have an agenda, Xavier. And then I grew up I always share this. My mother was a mistress, and the man she dated for 16 years, the married man she dated for 16 years, he was 25 years older than my mom. But my mother was that 20-year-old who had the Michelle Obama mindset. You know what I'm saying? So if I met a 30-year-old, and then I would have to kind of do interviews with him and Anaya to see man, does he have an agenda? And then me, I'm a clinician. I've been a clinician 28 years. So young man, it ain't too much you can try to run on me that I wouldn't be aware of. Right. I ain't that other daddy, oh yeah, whatever. I'll kill you if you hurt my daughter. No. Young man, you understand who Anaya is. I'm sure you got to know her. And if she chose you, my daughter is very mature. She's very thought-provoking. She's very mindful of her choices. So it's something good about you. Now, show me what that is. Mm-hmm. If you want my thumbs up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that is I know how you are about Anaya. Yes. And I know who she is. We've all watched her accomplishments over the time. So I am sure that if she did bring home an older guy, so you went to 30. What if she did bring home a man 40?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Xavier. You'll be seeing me on the newspaper. I promise you. And you might as well go on, and you, Okara and Scott, and a couple of my other friends on here, y'all get that money and get down to Cook County. I promise you, get down to Cook County and get me out. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for doing this.
All right.
All right. We're going to bring on one of our fathers disappeared. Oh, no, there he is. Okay, we're going to bring on our last father, and he has a little one, Mr. Wayman. So you are the young father with the youngest kid, with the youngest girls on the show. Yours are 4 and 1. So as you're raising your daughters, what will you tell your daughters growing up about older men?
Well, first off, I want to thank you for inviting me on the show. this has been very entertaining and thought provoking. Really enjoyed listening to some of the other fathers and their opinion. I have learned a lot. As far as your question, first I will want to try to, no try. I will.
Uh-oh. Now you're, uh-oh. He disappeared. Okay, well, come back as soon as you can. I don't know what happened to you. Okay, okay, are you back now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I will treat them or ask them to uh, focus on how they can learn how to respect themselves and be independent. And what is how important it is to be a strong black woman. Um, you want to be a role model, and I will be a role model, and I am currently a role model to my two girls, because what's going to happen? They're going to meet a variety of men, right? And they're going to be um, um, picking and choosing, the man that they want to end up being with. And from you being a role model, they will be able to pull up or pull back from what you have imputed and instilled in them to hopefully make better decisions about the type of man that they end up dating uh, and being with.
Have you dated younger?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And what I will say to that is, again, nobody's perfect. We all have issues. And I think to comment to what one of the other gentlemen said on this call, I believe it starts at home. I think it really starts at home first, because as you date, and it works both ways, because we have a lot of men that have mommy issues. And, as we're talking about, you know, our daughters and the daddy issues that arises from, you know, the men not being present in the home, that tends to matriculate into their relationships that they have with men moving forward. And in a situation like that, it's a lot of work. And I think it takes a lot of work and a good match with personalities to kind of work through a relationship for it to be successful when you have some of those clinical issues. Because I believe we have a clinician on the line as well. So I think to kind of attack it at the root and as fathers try to be role models and raise our daughters to respect themselves and be independent and understand what it means to be a strong black woman and be successful is the building blocks toward our girls and our young women growing up and being I guess productive in relationships with men.
Right.
Because again, like I said, it works both ways. We're not men as men, we're not perfect either. It's not like the female has to always have deference toward what men want and what we're looking for. We need to also understand women. And to the clinician about our young men, we have to sensitize our young boys, because again, you don't want just anybody doing anything to your daughter. I mean, we have daughters, we have sisters, we have mothers, we have wives. So we have to definitely train our young men up, as the clinician said, to kind of make this world a better place when it comes to just relationships and finding a mate and building successful relationships.
Okay. Well, I agree with you. I want to thank you as well for participating on the show. I'm trying not to go too far over since we did get a late start, but thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so it's been a great show, and again, I don't want to keep everybody too long. I believe that Mr. Khalid Scott really did make a good point, though, that actually made me think of it a little bit different, because depending on the woman, just like the young girl that I don't want to call him girl, young woman that Okara dated, sometimes young women are a little more mature, and the men in the age group may not fit the bill. They may not be attracted to them. Much like older women, there's some men that just don't really mature and they don't fit the bill either. So it's really a matter of going out there in the dating pool. I think, like they said, men who have a preference and target that age group, that may be a red flag, but it may not be the worst thing in the world. Again, I would have kind of liked to have gotten Darwin and Tobias on the screen together, but that didn't happen. Maybe it'll happen in the comments section. Darwin, if you want to pose your question it wasn't a question, but the statement you made about Tobias never really answered the question with regard to dates. He kind of skipped around it a little bit. I did hear that, but we're a little behind on time, so I didn't want to point it out right then. But Tobias, if you wanted to come back and just talk about that, I think that the dates that you said you proposed to have sound great as far as offering, some culture and experience to the woman, but you never did say you actually took a woman on those dates. You said those dates would be coming up, but unless we do a follow-up with you, we won't know if those dates ever take place. But I want to thank you all for watching the Xavier Fox Talk. I will be doing another show probably next month, but I'm not sure because next month is my birthday, and so my birthday thing might be Michelle. Who knows what happens? But definitely stay tuned for what's coming up next, and thank you all for sharing this time with me and allowing me to entertain you. And what do I call it? Infotainment. Thanks for sharing in my infotainment. Until next time, it's Xavier Fox. Peace. Or should I say deuces? I don't know. See you later.